fiscal framework and revenue proposals. Let me officially open the meeting and then move to welcome Honorable Karim, Chairperson, Honorable Mahlangu, Chairperson. I'm not sure. Shenga is not here. Comrade Sfiso. Welcome all members of the two committees, the support team from Parliament, different divisions in Parliament, PBO, FFC, National Treasury, and other entities, SARS, I hope they are also here, and other entities that report to National Treasury, the media, the public. All of you are welcome, and also welcome stakeholders if they are in attendance. Are there apologies?
From the Select Committee on Finance Chair, we do not have any apology.
Okay.
Chair, there's no apologies from Standing Finance, but just to note that Mr. Morolong is, for obvious reasons, not in the committee anymore.
Okay, let's take this opportunity to congratulate two members of the finance committees, Honorable Kenny Morolong, who has since been appointed by the President to be the Deputy Minister, and also congratulate Honorable Dipuo Peters, who was also the member of Appropriations Committee and also a member of our Standing Committee as an alternate. We congratulate them and wish them all the best in their new responsibilities. Thanks very much. Let's move to the next item. That's the consideration and adoption of the committee report on the 2023 fiscal framework and revenue proposals. Committees to adopt reports separately. Of course, that's a procedure. I hope that members have read the report to such that we can go directly to observations and recommendations. Okay. There we are. 8.1. Any comment, question for clarity? Okay. 8.2.
Chairperson.
Yes, comments.
Sorry, I should have man up, but on 8.1.1, we might want to observe that the last sentence could read, in addition, there are significant differences between the forecasts of the South African Reserve Bank and National Treasury. Here we say the committee further notes that NT's forecast has often been wrong. And we can say, moreover, there are significant differences between NT's forecasts and SARB. If that's agreeable, this is a suggestion. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Chairperson. Let's effect that amendment. Okay. 8.12. Agreed.
Chairperson, can I just add something else?
Okay.
You see, 812 line, sentence 2 begins, the committee recommends that NT should report on progress made in implementing structural reforms. But there's the master plans of the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan as well. So we must say maybe made progress made in implementing structural reforms, including through the master's plans of the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. I mean, the staff can tighten the language, obviously.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks, Comrade Yunus. And then 8, agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 813.
Korechi, here, I'm sorry to come in. These are some things we picked up later yesterday, although you and I did make our submissions to the staff. 813, we didn't raise this with them, these things being raised now. The last sentence might want to read, this is evidenced by the expanded definition of unemployment, which stands at 42.6%.
Okay. There we are. Okay, thanks, Comrade Yunus. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Thanks, Charlie. 814. Any comment? Question? Agreed?
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 815. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 816. Agreed.
Agreed,
Agreed,
Chair.
Chair.
Agreed. Eight one. Alan, we're at 1.6 or 8.2. Revenue estimate, tax incentives and tax proposals. 821.
Agreed, Chair.
For 8.2.2, Chair, sorry, maybe just the wording there, I think we were doing right in noting what has happened with the budget. Yeah, but if we welcome, then it would seem as though we say it is enough or more than enough. So I propose that we continue noting, the Chair, if we agree on that. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Noxie. Agreed. 823.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 824.
Agreed, Chair.
Okay, yeah, this issue of transition to energy transition, the rollout of solar panels and other related matters. That issue of SMEs should be strengthened. I'm not sure whether that program will be rolled out by DTI or by DME. But the role of SMEs surely should be something that we must highlight, that they should not be left behind, because it's an opportunity that will go a long way in empowering SMEs. It's going to be a massive program run by government, and bringing the SMEs, rural women, cooperatives will be very critical in this aspect. Thanks. Let's move to the next. 825.
Okay, Chair, why don't we then?
Mute.
Why don't we then? Okay, okay, it's there that we should recommend that National Treasury consults regularly. Sure, not a problem. Thank you, Chair. I thought that was not captured.
Oh, okay. Thanks. 825.
Chairperson?
Yes, Communist.
Yeah, you know, here we see this thing, and as we observed, it was, you know, it's a bit like it's for the committee, can't leave it hanging in the air. So I don't know what we want to say. The only thing I can think of for now is to say that National Treasury, something like the committee recommends the National Treasury engages on these issues at you know, within the next 6 months at a quarterly meeting, or at its, you can't put too many things, Chairperson, on your quarterly meetings, right? Because they last 3 hours, you have SARS there and you have NTB, right? And Comrade Chair, just to explain to NA members, we can't have quarterly meetings because there's no slots available to us. As colleagues know, we have both appropriations and the the finance committee members being the same. Now, all of us plunge immediately into the appropriations issues for the next few weeks. So when we mean quarterly report, we also mean that when you meet them quarterly. So we can't leave it hanging in the air. It's under observations and recommendations. So maybe, Chairperson, unless somebody can come up with a more precise formulation, is to say that the committee recommends that National Treasury discusses these issues at its quarterly meetings within 6 months. It gives them time to prepare because it's a complex issue, Comrade Chair. We can't make decisions here, but at least if we have 6 months, we can also, as study groups, work on our positions in this regard. But that is merely a suggestion. It is something that the committee might want to or might not want to agree, you know, or agree with, whatever.
Okay, now that's it. Comrade Eunice, agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Order, Chair.
Okay. 826, Yila.
Chairperson, if I may come in on this, please.
Honorable Ryder.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to you. Good morning to everyone else on the meeting. Chair, yes, I do think that certainly in the Select Committee on Finance, we had various discussions about the impacts of the health promotions levy, which is also known as the sugar tax, specifically following our visits to KwaZulu-Natal province and our interactions with the people there, particularly when we did the Taking Parliament to the People tour through KwaZulu-Natal. Now, I do think that Treasury's reaction to some of our inputs, certainly, but also some inputs from various role players in the industry, has been quite agile and responsive. So I just thought, the paragraph as it stands is fairly one-sided and takes a very cautious approach. But I think that Treasury needs to be commended for having seen the impacts of a tax and then, slightly moderating their stance on it in reaction to that. And, as the NCOP, one of our functions is to look at the implications or the effects and the impacts that a law has or that a tax has once it has been implemented. And so we welcome this. So, Chair, I have put in the chat group a sentence that I'd like to include. I also sent it last night through to the Secretary. But if I can just say that it says that the committee, having seen the real life impacts of the tax on the lives of some South Africans, welcomes the flexibility and reactive response of Treasury to ensure a balanced approach. I would like to propose including that at the end of the paragraph. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Ryder. Okay, that's the suggestion from Honorable Ryder. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed.
No, they shouldn't.
8.3 expenditure issues. Let's go to 831.
Maybe another addition, just not to
No, sir.
sorry for that, Chair. I was just saying maybe our next edition could be to sorry, just to soothe the feelings of Hila, our stakeholder who raised the point, to say that let's accept the National Treasury recommendation to effect in the 2024 budget. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Okay, let's go to 831. Expenditure issues. Okay. 832. So here it is recommended that we refer this matter to the appropriation committees. Agreed? And
Agreed,
also,
Chair.
Agreed, Chair.
okay. Public Service and Administration. 833. The issue of social grants, and in particular, the SRT.
Chair, it's Dennis again, if I can come in.
Yes, Honorable Ryder.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I believe that this paragraph needs to reflect a bit of the conversation where it was pointed out that the underspending on the SRD grant was a big component of the second adjustment appropriation bill. And perhaps note or conclude that a review of the qualifying criteria for the SRD bill needs to be undertaken. I'm not sure if that vests with Treasury or with social development, but I do believe that as a committee, noting the underspending, I mean, so while I understand we're not the appropriations committee, The Appropriations Committee is the one that moved the money across to social development. The underspending was a big concern, and I think that raises the question, perhaps, are the conditions that are placed, the criteria that are placed there, appropriate for the people that need it? So, yeah, in summary, Chair, I haven't crafted anything specific, but perhaps, yeah, I can just put something in the chat now, which will include a little bit of it. If you give me 1 second to get to the chat. There we go. The underspending on the SRD grant was a big component of the second adoption appropriation bill, and a review of the qualifying criteria needs to be undertaken. That's my proposal, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Honorable Ryder. So we agree that the issue of the review of the comprehensive social security should be expedited and be brought to the attention of the Appropriations Committee as soon as possible, with what Honorable Ryder has also brought to the fore. Agreed?
Agreed, Chair.
Chair, can I just check whether, sorry, we also deal with it while we take it to appropriations? Just a question of clarity, Chair.
Yeah, the thrust is that the matter should be taken to appropriations with those recommendations, but Appropriations Committee will take the final resolution in this regard. I think that's our understanding. So we can't preempt the decision that the Appropriations Committee is going to take. So in this regard, we note and we recommend to them that the matter should be expeditiously finalized. Yes, Noxon?
I'm covered, Chair.
Thanks. 834. Okay. So the National Treasury will provide that information in the next 14 days. Okay. 835. Okay, agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed.
Chairperson, can I just raise a matter of procedure here and meaning? Because, we're on our, people like me on my way out, right, at my age and so on. This 8 point, sorry, I'm a bit lost. I'm on the wrong point. Okay, sorry, I'm on the wrong point. I've got a different numbering here from them. Okay, sorry, I withdraw what I'm saying for now.
Oh, okay. Was there a specific issue you want to raise, Chairperson? So
well, it's actually on 8.34, right? I just want to raise something that there seems to be some misunderstanding about sometimes. You see, once a stakeholder in civil society asks for information related to the budget, right? I mean, it's a norm. We cannot say no, whether we agree with what the person saying and why they want it or not. So we unless there's sometimes, obviously, as you know, as a former minister, right, there are times where it's constitutionally sound not to give information, in which case we've done this before in Parliament. It has never happened, but we say to them, give us a lawyer's letter to justify what you're doing, because there's reflection on our role. Doesn't matter whether we agree with civil society or not. This has been a norm of Parliament for the last many years. And I just want to say one thing. The fact that we ask for the information doesn't necessarily mean that we agree with the policy or stakeholder that's making that request. And nor, if we want it for our own purposes of the committee, it doesn't mean we agree with the aims that they're seeking. I'm just saying that there's no choice we have, because this has been raised with me offline before, and I thought I should just say that it's not about policy, it's about the role of Parliament. It's a general point I'm making, Chairperson. It's pretty banal, maybe, but maybe it's of some value to some of the members. At least one who raised the matter with me before. Thank you.
Thanks, Chairperson. I think, as you said, is a norm, because the state has to avail information to its citizens unless it's classified information. And
yes,
there are laws that actually regulate how information is accessed to the public, information in the hands of the defense, the intelligence, and all those. But information like which is requested by Amandla Mobe, I don't think is classified unless Treasury can indicate. Yeah. So if a member of the public requests information from the state, whether through Paja or is it Payaya, or what is it, Payaya, something like that. Yeah. Frank, are you here? Who's the lawyer in the platform today from the side of Parliament?
I was going to say Willie Okamp, but yeah.
That's Willie Okamp, lawyer.
Good morning, Chair. My rights are for free, and therefore it's very dangerous. So please don't use me.
Really, can you provide pro bono services in this regard?
Chair, it's always pro bono if you look at the salaries that we get. But as I say, it would be dangerous to take my word for any legal advice that I give.
Okay, no, thanks, really. Okay, let's go back to 841. There we are.
Yeah, it's Dennis again. If I can come in on 841.
Yes.
So the committee notes that the gross loan debt is now expected to stabilize 3 years later and at a higher level than expected. I think we really should put in there that it's as a direct result of the transfer of Eskom's debt onto the national balance sheet, because I think it needs to be explained. There is a cause and effect, and I think just spelling it out in our report is appropriate.
Okay. There we are on the issue of the debt. Okay. 842. Eskom debt. The quarterly monitoring, providing progress report. With the appointment of the electricity minister, Comrade Eunice and Comrade Tigret, is Eskom shifted to that minister, or it remains in DPE, or I don't know. I'm not sure where it is now. Comrade Eunice? So that we know which minister.
Chairperson, as I understand it, no, Eskom remains, operational issues remain with the Minister of Public Enterprises. Issue of energy policy remains with the Minister of Minerals and Energy. And then you know what the new minister is about. For Parliament, it is a bit of a nightmare, but I have no further comment to make.
Okay, no, I think it will be cleared as we move forward as to who does what in this sector, because as we speak, we've got a serious energy problem which has to be resolved. It's a problem for the households, it's a problem for business, it's a problem for students, it's a problem for everybody. Surely, the sooner this matter gets resolved, the better. The economy is not performing properly. Students are not performing as they are supposed to at school because there's energy disruption, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Let's hope that the reconfiguration of the energy cluster in the executive will surely make sure that assist in getting this matter resolved as soon as possible. 843.
Sorry, Chair, I still wanted to come in on 842, if I may.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Just to also answer your question, the finance minister did indicate in our session the other day that at this stage Eskom will remain under the public enterprises portfolio, and certainly I think it would take an entire reworking of the budget if we were to suddenly have a quick shift around of that. The president last night also did mention that the responsibilities of the electrifying minister will be gazetted in the next couple of days. So and the reapportionment of the various duties. So I think that question will be answered by Gazette in the short term. But Chair, in terms of 8.4.2, again as a proposed addition, I've put it again in the chat, and I do think that the scale of Eskom debt relief, as we're discussing it, we also need to talk about the fact that Eskom should not be allowed to, now that the liabilities, long-term liabilities section of their balance sheet is being cleaned out, they should not be allowed to just go and leverage against their balance sheet again. And so any additional debt incursion by Eskom should be avoided until such time as a comprehensive and workable restructure plan is approved by Parliament. So yeah, I mean, we certainly don't want to see Eskom going off and leveraging against their balance sheet now that we've given them a little bit of room to do so, perhaps, until we know exactly what the plan is to get us out of there. So my proposal is to add that little piece that I've added in the chat. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Ryder. Let's move to 843. The bailout of SOEs.
Chair, sorry, can you just clarify, will that be added or not?
Yes, there was no opposition to it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. 843. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Accompanied by strict conditions. Agreed. 844. Debt service costs. This is a nightmare. This is the fastest growing budget item. It is overcrowding service delivery, and something must be done in this regard. So does it agreed? 845.
Chairperson, I'm going to be adding something else on this one, please, if I may. So this speaks to the significant risks to the fiscal framework. And again, I'd like to draw attention to two matters which are most pressing at the moment in terms of our fiscal framework and the fiscal outlook. And the one is, of course, the grey listing that we have, and the other one is the international relations position that we're finding ourselves in at the moment, where our stance on international conflicts is currently being, I'm not sure if it's misinterpreted or if it's not being properly understood or if it's not very clear. So therefore, I'd like to add a comment in there, and I've put it again in the chat. It says, the committee therefore recommends that a strong focus be placed on the removal of South Africa from the FATF's grey list. I do understand that's mentioned later in the report, but I'll continue the sentence. It says, as well as taking a less partisan stance on the high-profile international because a reasonably middle-of-the-road comment that should not find too much
Okay, are you done, Honorable Rider? You seem to be having a problem of challenge of connectivity.
Yes, sorry, Chair. I noted that it dipped in the middle. So I apologize for that. Just to add in that sentence that says the committee then focus be placed on the removal of South Africa from the FATF's grey list, as well as the taking of a less partisan stance on the high-profile international conflicts while promoting peaceful solutions.
Okay. Does it? Thanks. Let's move to the next item 846. Agreed. The issue of PPEs, there is a framework in this regard, but what we are saying here is that there should be privatization. Thanks. 8.5, other budget-related matters. 851. Can we strengthen this issue of FATF 851 and 852 that Treasury should design or compile a comprehensive response plan, which they should come back with and report to these finance committees. Of course, they've spoken to this issue last week, but we'll want to see a comprehensive plan in writing to say this is what government is going to do. Because if we'll have to wait for 2025 to be out of the grey list, fine, that's the schedule of FATF. But we should, as a country, be seen to be doing something. And I'm happy that from the side of Parliament, we were not found to be wanting. Under very difficult circumstances, we managed to pass the legislations that will assist the country not to be grey listed. So issues that has made the country to be grey listed do not fall in our domain. They have got to do with something else. But the sooner that National Treasury comes back with a comprehensive plan to say from now, this is what's going to happen, next, this is what, so that we don't live in an uncertain kind of environment. It's very disturbing that a country gets grey listed all over the world. You are known as a South Africa that has been grey listed. So that's what I'm suggesting. Honorable Noxie.
Chairman, on the previous input by Honorable Ryder, I think at this point we can
Noxie, are you there?
Oh, sorry, Chair. Sorry, I got muted. Sorry for that. No, Chair, I was dropped out by the system while Honorable Ryder was completing his point. And I think we cannot agree with a partisan statement, because once you begin talking about partisan, you are being non-partisan, you are being partisan. So I think as a committee, let us just remain neutral and leave the recommendation, the 845 recommendation as it is. The issues of FATF we can discuss here and now on this point, but we cannot accept what Honorable Ryder has. We have agreed with his points in the previous points that we have raised, because we agreed with it. But if he begins to say, let us put in a point that says we must not be non-partisan, then we don't agree with that. I'm sorry, Chair, but I think in that regard, we need to leave the recommendation as it is. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. We are now at 851 and
Chairperson, can I respond to that, please? Sorry, I think Honourable Abraham and I are on the same page. If I may respond, sorry.
Okay, Honourable Ryder.
Thanks very much. So I think that was exactly my point, is that we should be taking a non-partisan stance. So whether we say less partisan or non-partisan, I think we're in full agreement. So I would strongly, you know, if she wants to change less to non, then I'd be accepting of that. Because yes, we're on the same page. Thank you, Chair.
No, Chair, if you can give me.
Honourable Noxie.
No. Yes, no, I don't think we are really on the same page as Honourable. I didn't say less. I said, let us just not include the partisan sentence in our recommendations, because that, whether it's less or none, it's going to be problematic. Let's just leave the recommendation as proposed by the drafters as it is, because it covers the subject that we want to cover. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thanks. Let's go back to 851 and 852. I, on top of what is written here, I made a strong emphasis that the National Treasury should design a comprehensive response plan to tackle the issue of grey listing, and come back with that report to brief Parliament. And that is through our finance committees. Agreed?
Yes, Chairperson. Chairperson, can I just raise one related issue? I think I can predict what Treasury is going to say, but I could be wrong. They're going to say, well, we can strengthen the FIC, but the rest of the structures belong to other portfolios. It's the Hawks and police generally, NPAs and justice, structures within trade and industry. So, you know, this is something that should be dealt with by the powers that be in the NA and NCOP, where, you know, I think there's something about allocating to each portfolio our responsibilities in implementing the Zondo Commission. I don't know where that process is chaired. Maybe Comrade Noxie knows, but what we could also talk about with the respective chief whips and chairperson and house chairperson and speaker, sorry, is there are times when we must meet as a group, clustered. Like, for example, there's enough in common for the 4 committees and one other or so for us to meet. And maybe we can do that once every quarter or something. So you're absolutely right. The report is weak in that regard. We're not saying anything. And what you're saying is correct, but maybe we want to add something like report to ourselves and where appropriate in a joint sitting of the relevant committees or something like that. The wording can be done, which is more pithy and precise.
Okay. No, I think we'll do so. We are saying this because National Treasury has been playing a coordinating role when it comes to issues of approaching FATF. As much as justice there has got its role, you remember there was a legislation that was amended in justice, in police and DTI. Be that as it may, at the end, it was Treasury that was coordinating. Hence, it was the Minister of Finance who tabled the General Laws Amendment Act. So you are right, Comrade Eunice, that individually, like members at Justice will also want the Justice Minister to brief them. What is he doing in regard to issues that are related to NPA and the like? Because most of the issues are related to justice and police that FATF is still worried about. But also as a committee responsible for committees responsible for finance, let's get a consolidated report. And you are right that at some stage we'll have to meet as extend our scope to include members of, other committees like justice and police, so that jointly we deal with this matter and be seen to be serious in tackling this matter. It's not a government issue. It's a matter that affects the country as a whole. And the sooner we deal with it, the better. Thanks, Comrade Eunice. Let's move to 853.
Chairperson, can I raise an issue here that only struck me this morning? It struck me yesterday and I forgot to raise it. You see, this again is not about whether we agree or disagree with Professor Rousseau, right? He's asking for this information. But the reasons he's asking for the information are different from our policy position on this. And I meant to say it last week, Friday. It was a very difficult meeting because we had to give civil society the time. And members didn't have much time to speak. And I thought I wouldn't raise it because it's running out of time. But looking at it again now, you see, we as far as I know, Comrade Chair, Comrade Noxie, just guide me here. It's fine to get the information. But where they're edging towards, and if you hear the professor, you'll hear him, he has a right to say it, is what they basically saying. I think the DA shares that view, I don't know to what extent, that, you know what, we should not be giving South African taxpayers money. I think the guy from the Tax Institute says that, I can't remember who says what, but essentially to save time, they believe that we shouldn't give taxpayers money to the extent we do through this arrangement, right? I don't think that's our policy. It's true we are very squeezed financially and so on. But Lesotho and Botswana and all these other countries are worse off. And they will get even worse off if we were to close this thing or dramatically reduce it. Maybe there's a case, Comrade, it's a very technical area to reduce it slightly. But I think they believe it's wrong, given the constraints we're experiencing financially and economically. I don't think we can agree with that. So I think we should make it clear. The other parties may not agree, but if the majority feel let's leave it out, fine. But we're not saying don't give them any money or reduce it. We don't have a view on that. What we have a view of, I don't know whether Zakele and Esther can help us. I think we have said this before, Comrade Chair. Maybe in the last term, I can't recall, or the two, well, Alan will remember, maybe at Tiboho. We said that something like, I can't remember what it was, we feel that we owe a responsibility to these countries next door. I'm not a finance person, I'm not an economics person, but maybe if we don't give this money, it means more and more people will stream in our country, and the cost the state will have to bear is greater than anything we share with them. They are underdeveloped compared to us. We go to established countries to ask for money because we are underdeveloped because of them. And to some extent, let's be frank, Comrade Chair, our argument ideologically has been that we were colonized by the UK and all that, right? and they owe us because of what they've extracted from this country. In a similar way, Lesotho and Botswana, let's deal less with Lesotho. Let's say the neighboring countries. They can tell us, you guys are a small colonial power here in Southern Africa. And we have used their citizens, often they needed the jobs, in our mining sector. Many of them died, as you know, Comrade Chair, in the mines here as well. And we are talking about like a Southern African equivalent of the EU, right? We've been put this on the agenda, and Becky put it on the agenda firmly and so on. That's got lost somewhere. So short, Comrade Chair, I don't know if we shouldn't tweak it a bit, leave it as it is, but then say the committee recommends the National Treasury provide the relevant information to the committee. And the other point to make is whoever asks for it, they don't get the information. The information comes to us, we the Parliament, and our committee secretaries give it to them, and then add, this does not mean that the majority or the committee feels that South Africa does not have a responsibility to share with its Southern African neighbors, something like that. Chair, I don't know if we can make it simpler, but I just feel ill at ease about leaving it like that, that's all. But if others don't agree, I'm fine. Let's forego it.
Honorable Dutoy, Honorable Abraham.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I do not agree with Honorable Karim. The professor never said that no money must be given to the neighboring countries. If I recall correctly, that wasn't even mentioned. I mean, and I can state that by referring to what the Honorable Karim said when he said that I think that the professor thought or insinuated. I don't have the exact words. So those words never crossed his lips or past his lips. I don't know if there's maybe a feeling of guilt that too much money is being spent on this. I think that the emphasis was placed on the fact that we want the figures and the calculations for transparency for this committee or these committees to see exactly what is going on. I completely support 8.5.3 as it is written here now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Abraham, then Honorable Karim, I'll come back to you. Noxie, are you there?
Sorry, Chair, I forgot to unmute. I think, Chair, for us to say the figures have to be scrutinized is well and good. However,
Noxie, you seem to be having a problem of connectivity, which is affecting.
okay, Chair, sorry for that. Do you hear me now, Chair?
Yes.
Okay. No, Chair, I was saying that rather than be general to say that the National Treasury must come back to the committee with a response, rather let us give them 7 days. Let us. Sorry, I'm sorry, I keep muting myself. Let us give them 7 days to get back, not just to the committee, but to get back to, sorry. I'm sorry, can you hear me, Chair?
Yes.
Only when you're talking, Honorable Abraham.
To FC, to get back to respond, in fact, to FCSG within 7 days. That would be my recommendation, Chair. I'm sorry for that.
Okay. Honorable Karim.
Yeah, firstly, I don't recall that I said he certainly doesn't want the money to go. He wants transparency, I agree. So if that was implied by the loose words I chose, I apologize. But I think the taxation guy, I'm not sure, Keith Engel, said that this issue gets raised about South African taxpayers. Somebody said it now and before. The point Noxie is making is there. It says the committee recommends the Treasury provide the relevant information to the committee. As I said, they must provide it to the committee, and then we give it to FS, whatever they call fiscal study, and then we give it, put it on our website or whatever, and give it to anybody who's entitled to it. So I just think, though, the fact that we're asking for this information should not mean that we support those who say we shouldn't be giving money or substantially reduce it because those countries are dependent on it. It'll be a wrong conversation. That is all I'm saying. But if the majority, including in the party I come from, don't agree, I'm fine with it, Comrade Chair. I'm not going to die in the ditch about it. It's something that I think we should make clear. And we have said it before to the best of my knowledge, but again, I could be wrong.
Okay, what is it? Let me understand something here. We are saying that the National Treasury should publish the information in the next budget review documents to enable interested parties to scrutinize. Then somewhere we say within 7 days, National Treasury should publish that information. What is what? Will the budget review be available in the next 7 days?
Comrade Chair.
There must be coherence.
Now, Comrade Chair, yeah, you're right. I take some responsibility for this. As you remember, I looked at this section and I only picked it up now that you're saying it. But clearly, you're right. So that's why Noxie raised what she did, right? No, the decision we took was very clear. I don't know where this draft comes from. The decision we took is exactly what Noxie says, and it's the last sentence there. That he wanted the information. Chairperson, you were in and out of the meeting. But you know, I'm 66 now, almost 67. But my memory is very clear. I think the secretary, he wanted the stuff by the end of business, as he said. Remember, colleagues? He said, can they give us the information? So I said, no, you're being too demanding now. You'll get it within 7 days. Noxie is absolutely right. There it is. But then, in addition to that, they need to publish the calculations. You see, it's not inconsistent, it's the wording. Chairperson, I'm happy to redo the wording to say that the outcome is twofold. Firstly, they must provide the information within 7 days, and then they must regularly do it in future budget reviews. So I think that did come up, it's correct. But the way it's formulated here, Chairperson, you mandate me, I'll do it. We say initially what Noxie said, must be given within 7 days. That's what we agreed to. Secondly, in future, it must be put in the next, not the next, in future budget review documents, so everybody can see it. That's a separate issue from saying, and maybe we need to learn, that we don't necessarily agree with those who feel that we should, over time, phase this thing out. But leave it. Okay, I don't think there's much traction for what I'm saying. I don't want to hold the meeting back. Fine, Chairperson, let's move on. But you are right. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay, communists, understood. Akhbara Vessels.
Thank you, Chairperson. I agree with Honourable Karim. I think the order in the paragraph should just be turned around, because it's firstly provide the information within 7 days, the current relevant information, and then in future budget review documents, those calculations should be included. So it's actually just the other way around to make it more clear, but I agree with Honourable Karim.
Okay. I think we agree in this regard that it is about providing information to those who are interested. This committee can take a decision that there should no longer be this arrangement between the SACU countries, so that we should not be seen like, as Parliament, getting into the space which belongs somewhere where there are bilateral, multilateral agreements entered into between governments or between states, and then we say something as a Parliament. So my understanding is that stakeholders need to get this information for them to understand how the calculation is arrived at. But there's no, I think Honorable Dutoit clarified that there's no insinuation that we as Parliament, we are saying that South Africa must stop transferring money as agreed to in SACU and other multilateral bodies. So it must be very clear when we live here that we are not questioning that decision of at the multilateral level. What we are interested in is access to information. And the National Treasury will indicate if the information will be available in the next 7 days. If not, they will come back to us and say, on this time frame, they will make sure that the information is available. I think there's nothing secret about this information. It's in the public domain. They will have to avail it. Let's move to the next item, recommendation 854. When is this bill coming to Parliament? I was not there on Tuesday when the minister briefed the committees. Last time he committed himself that he will table the bill to Parliament in March. We are now in March. Has the bill been tabled to the Speaker? Our national
I was
treasury-
rising on that point exactly, Chair, just to say that when we make that statement in 854, we need to put in an element of urgency. I am not sure if at least the addition of as soon as possible can talk to that, but it is my considered view that let's not just say it must be brought to Parliament, because as you correctly say, it has become more than urgent, and therefore let us add that just these 4 words, as soon as possible. Thanks, Chair.
Then we have to talk to the minister. He committed himself in Parliament that he would bring the bill to Parliament in March. So he has to explain if the bill is no longer coming. If we have to write a letter to him to say, Minister, on this and this day, you committed yourself. You know, once you come to Parliament, it's as much as you are like in a court of law. We have taken oath as members of Parliament, and we must stick to what we say in Parliament. I think that's what the members of the executive should be held accountable to. So when exactly is the minister tabling this bill? Because it's long that this bill has been awaited by Parliament. It's a matter of public interest. Our stakeholders and our constituencies wants to know as to when is this bill going to be published. Tabled. The minister said March. And what is he saying now? His friend here in the platform, Alan and Tego.
Chair, he's not in the platform, but I'll check with him now on the phone.
Okay. That person, Honorable Karim.
Yeah, sorry, just quickly, I think Knox is absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. And if I need to remind new members, at least these term members, this was, I think, if the lady remembers, I think Noxie might have been with us by then. Certainly Alan and Teboho might. I think it was 2017 that the bill was meant to come to us. It was meant to be tabled before the 2019 elections, Comrade Chair. So that's 5 years later, right? And secondly, this thing of as soon as possible, we've been saying from, I think, 2018. So Knox is absolutely right. And I like what you said. I agree. I've never thought about it like that. But put it very nicely, it's like a court of law, So I think we should say, should be brought to Parliament. I don't know what people feel, within 6 weeks, full stop. Should this not happen, the minister addresses the committee on why this is the case, or address the committee on what the obstacles are, full stop. But you're right, it's as soon as possible a cliche. It's a meaningless thing. It could mean anything, but it must be done in this term, Comrade Chair.
Thanks, Comrade Yunus. There was somebody. Yeah, the minister should be held accountable for his commitment. He should bring the bill to this parliament now. We are not instructing, but that is the commitment. So we hold him accountable to his words. So we are not overreaching that we want to be seen like taking over from the executive. No, we are not doing that. But it's a matter of public interest, which has been raised several times. So the sooner this March, as he has committed himself, he tables this bill, the better. Let's move to 855.
Comrade Chair, I did put my hand up, but very quickly. You see, I've forgotten this, that he said March. So I think we should say, as you said, what you said should be put in the report. It should say, instead of as soon as possible, we're taking that out. Sorry, if somebody can just lower that. What does it say? The committee recognizes, Alan, can you lower that? I can't see what the first of 854 is. Yeah, the committee recognizes blah, blah, blah. Affecting and recommends that the public procurement, the word procurement is missing there, should be, or the bill should be brought to Parliament. The committee notes, Committee Chair, I think we should start saying the committee notes and check that we got a record of that somewhere in the public domain or to us. The committee notes that the minister said that the public procurement bill will be tabled in March. Full stop. The committee expects this to be done, comma, failing which the minister should explain what the obstacles are. So once you put that first sentence in, Chairperson, the point you made, then we are not overreaching. But I don't know what others feel, and I'll leave it to the committee to decide.
No, agreed.
Chair, I don't think we need to give the minister an option not to do this. I agree in principle with the punches that Honorable Karim is making in terms of making one clear sentence on what needs to be done. And secondly, in ensuring that the bill is brought to Parliament as soon as possible, full stop. Because if we say, if not, then we give him an opportunity not to. But I think the first sentence gives us some impetus to say he actually owes it to Parliament to give this by March already. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Mhlonishwa Skhosana.
No, ngiyathokoza Sihlalo. Ngilotshisa wonke amalunga ahloniphekileko nabo bonke abakhona emithini. Yeah, Chair, I want to agree, I think, with other fellow members, particularly Honorable Karim, that like as we are saying that it is the minister who made a commitment that the bill will be tabled in March. So I think we should restructure the paragraph like the way I think he has proposed. But further, also add that as per the commitment that the minister made, to say it should be tabled by the end of March as per the commitment made by the minister in the committee, so that at least there is that acknowledgement that this was the commitment that was made by the minister. It is not us who are just dictating that we want the bill to be tabled in March, but we are saying it must be tabled before the end of March as per the commitment of the minister, so that it's clear that it is the minister who made this particular commitment. Well, I think Honorable Abrams, I think she's correct when she say let's not give an option that if that does not happen, the minister must come and explain. But obviously, if it doesn't happen, we will then have to write to him to come and appear before the committee. But we might not have, it may not be necessary for us to write that, but we must just stick on saying the bill should be tabled in Parliament before the end of this month, before the end of March, as per the commitment that was made by the minister to the committee. But then obviously failure to do that, we don't have to write it as a recommendation, but failure to do that, if by end of March that has not happened, in April, then we will have to write the minister, for the minister to come and explain why he has not done so. That's my view, Chair. Thanks.
Sir Thokoza Jali will do so. And then the next item is 855. Believe that. It's water and sanitation crisis. To spend infrastructure. Pattern. Okay. So we're referring this matter to the relevant committee, which is water and sanitation. Honorable Abraham, are you raising the hand or is it a legacy hand?
No, I'm raising it, Chair. I'm raising it. I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm raising it. Chair, firstly, I think as a matter of principle, that was the message that we got through in the committee. However, there is just one or two areas where I think the language has become so diplomatic that it might even lose the meaning. For example, when we say there must be spending on infrastructure will likely affect, that there suggests that it may not affect, and yet it will severely, I think, in terms of choice of words, for me, yes, I thank very much for changing that into severely, because I think we should say that. And the last sentence for me is the fact that the committee believes. I think, Chair, we must be more instructive to say that parliamentary committees responsible for the above should exercise their effective and rigorous oversight. It should not sound like it is a choice or it is just our belief. It should be instructive to say the parliamentary committees responsible for the above should exercise rigorous and effective oversight on the matter. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thanks, Honorable Abraham. 856.
Chair, on this, can I just ask, we are quoting the 2022 fiscal framework. Where does that quote specifically end, please?
Okay.
So it says that it's recommended in the 22 fiscal policy framework or fiscal framework report. It then starts to quote, the committee reiterates its position, etc. I'm not sure, I can't see clearly where that quote ends.
Chairperson, it ends on the word campaign. As you'll see, there's a comma, colon, sorry. What is it? Apostrophe. Take this matter forward as part of the buy local campaign. Ends there.
In the next paragraph.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you. Yeah, what is it? The deal check and that, yeah, should be on the other side of the full stop. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Honorable. The committee further recommends that National Treasury, DTIC should respond. Who's responsible for this matter specifically of procuring state cars? Is it the Department of Transport or National Treasury, DTIC, or the Presidency?
Yeah, Comrade, you're absolutely right. I mean, this again, I take responsibility for. It's inconsistent, really. It's taking extracts from previous reports and sending it here. This is one of the problems we have in finalizing a report at the last minute. So this last sentence, you're right. We took a decision that The matter was, you'll see, Comrade Chair, if you go up further, the matter was later referred to the National Treasury. National Treasury has now referred the matter back to the presidency. The committee feels that this matter has regrettably been dragging on for 5 years now and has to be finalized. It's not a matter of the committee to decide who should reply to it. This needs to be decided between NT and the executive. The committee recommends that they do so within 14 days. That's all. We don't have to bring, that's an old one. It's taken out from an old one that further committee recommends we should take out that NT or the presidency should reply. Now, Chairperson, this again is not really, it's about our role as Parliament, Chairperson. You know, colleagues, it's 5 years later, we still don't have an answer. The Deputy Minister Masonda, we told Treasury, gave a very good answer in another parliamentary structure. All they have to do is ask him to help them with the draft. Instead, Edgar Shishi comes here and says, no, we're referring it back to the presidency. Well, the matter of DTIC, that's been raised with them, Comrade Chair. As you know, we don't just sit here in committee meetings and chair, we do a lot of things offline. That has been raised. And as far as I know, DTI agrees with this. But they did point out the limits that they have. So, Chairperson, I think firstly, we should say, just to make it clear to people being for the first time, when you start, we say, as recommended in the 2022 Fiscal Framework Report, and in other words, and raised many times before, right? And then drop the last thing, and it should simply read, this needs to come to us within 14 days, either from the presidency or from the Treasury. Chairperson, you've been in the ministry, right? You know it's very easy for Treasury, if they wanted, to draft a reply and give it to somebody, the DG in the presidency or somebody to reply. But we cannot have a situation, Chair, it's unheard of. I don't have anything that's ever happened like this, where 5 years later, the same issue comes up year in, year out. It's not a matter about the fiscal cliff, Chair. It's got nothing to do with him. Well, it has in the sense he raised it. It is Parliament's integrity. It is our oversight responsibility that we are ultimately not fulfilling because the executive is not answering. And we can't have this from the chair. So I accept again, I apologize for that clumsy last paragraph, last sentence, but DTIC has got nothing to do with it now. Now it is a matter between Treasury and Finance. Who replies? They pass the buck from one to the other. That's wrong, Chairperson. You will recall it was handed back to Treasury. Now they're saying they're going back to the president. Well, they can do that presidency, but they must reply within 14 days. Chairperson, is agreeable that we simply stick to the last sentence gets out and we say, you see, this is not, as I remember the draft that but maybe something's gone wrong here between the staff, you and me maybe. But this was not in the draft that I can't recall it was there because it makes no sense. So it should now read, the matter was, it's not for the committee to decide, Chairperson, whether NT or the presidency should respond. But either or both of them should respond within 14 days. Should this not happen, the committee will decide how to take the matter forward because we can't leave it in for the chair. Our term is coming to an end. It'll be 1.5 terms later that we haven't got a reply. This has got nothing to do with fiscal cliff, it's to do with us and the executive. Secondly, Chairperson, you yourself mentioned in the exit report, we said this matter is outstanding when you took over as the NA chair. So, Chairperson, I apologize for that. I'll sort it out, it's inconsistent. It's between Treasury now and the presidency. They must just give us a reply. They can give us a reply, Chairperson, since we don't agree. Our wording in the 2022 fiscal framework is very clear. It says, without being prescriptive. You can't be prescriptive to a minister or a deputy minister. You can't. Without being prescriptive, they should be encouraged to do so.
Okay, thanks, Honorable Karim. Honorable Abraham.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. I think I agree with the old man. What needs to be done, the recommendation needs to be restated, rewritten, so that we carry the message through without using so many words. Because I think the way we discussed it, we made it this long, because at the end of the day, when we talk too much and we don't want to leave anything out, then we have such a recommendation. I think the length of it might make us lose its significance. And I think let us just be bold to say the recommendation cannot be restated, né? Because it was stated 5 years ago. All that we need now are answers in terms of a plan or policy document that will demonstrate that this is going to be effected. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Nox. Isn't it the Department of Trade and Industry as an arrangement in the automotive sector whereby they incentivize, I think, car manufacturing companies that assemble their cars in South Africa with a subsidy? I don't know what they call it. There's an arrangement in that sector between that department and the automotive industry. Are there no conditions in that kind of an arrangement that is there? Let me not call it an arrangement. Whatever policy stance that government has taken in regard to the automotive sector, what does it say in actual sense? I know government is spending a lot of money in incentivizing the automotive sector to stay in South Africa, assemble in South Africa. I think it was done long ago, some years back, when Minister Dr. Davis was still there. Anything in that regard, so that we have got a light as to was there no agreement between the automotive sector and the government that in return, government will also encourage departments and SOEs and others to buy cars manufactured local or assembled local. And at one stage, Dr. Masondo gave clarity in this regard, but it was verbal, if I'm not mistaken, that there's no car which 100% gets assembled in South Africa. You find some parts come from this side, something is done from that other end. Yeah, so we need more information in this regard. Probably at some stage, we might need to invite the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition to come to this platform and also speak to us in this regard. You might find fine, Treasury doesn't have all the information, but it looks like DTIC has got lots of information in this regard. Comrade Eunice?
Yeah, Chairperson, unfortunately, you're making a good point, but that's not part of the arrangement as far as I know it. I've been briefed in various structures on this thing. It's one of our most successful, as you know, programs. We give a lot of money, but there's no such agreement, firstly. Secondly, we can't be prescriptive, as you know. The ministers and deputy ministers will say, argue that these cars are so-called assembled here, they're not manufactured here, and so on. So there's no such thing. We can, in fact, invite them. I think it's a very good idea. However, you know full well that the president keeps saying, look, I'm wearing the suit. It's actually manufactured right here in the textile industry of Cape Town, etc., right? And I think you're aware that the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition has long agreed with us. I've been speaking to him for a while now, and he fully supports what we have said when we first raised it, I think in 2016. He has himself, to be fair, raised it in certain structures, but there's no outcome. The only thing I'd like to plead with is my comrade Noxie, right? She's right. we can reduce it. The reason it is here like this is because it's going to go to new officials now in the presidency to see, and they need to be told. I was thinking, Comrade Chair, that you and I should simply take this quotation. The bottom part has to be simplified so that it's clear what we're saying, and send it as a letter to the DG of the presidency and to the acting DG of Treasury. You see, if we put DTIC in now, in this context, you're correct. We can make that a separate paragraph. Then they're going to say, okay, waiting for a reply from the DG of DTIC and so on. We just want them to give us a reply. And we're not going to dictate to them, the executive, who should do the reply. They can consult with DTIC. But I'm suggesting we convert this thing. The fact of the matter is we have to say many times before, the last time we mentioned it was last year, right? But it starts in 2015. We did not mention all the times we did this formulation in different ways. This is the latest one. We can tweak it a bit, but we should have a reference because that tells them that, look, this is what we've raised with you before. So we have to say, and many times before. I think the staff has already put together the various times that we raised this thing, and maybe we can attach that as a letter. So we send it as a letter to the DG of the two departments, Comrade Chair. That's what I'm suggesting.
Is it not enough, Comrade Eunice, to say we take this resolution as suggested here, that we recommend that National Treasury, DTIC, and they should respond in the next 14 days, and the letters will come later. Let's make the ministers to account. For now,
okay.
We suggest that we don't go administrative. We write directly to DGs as parliamentarians. Let's get the political heads to account to us and do what is expected of them, and remove the last sentence as agreed. Thanks. Let's move to the next item, 857. The issue of the widows, like the issue of FATF, I will request that SARS and National Treasury compile a comprehensive report of what they've been doing in engaging the widows. Because a lot, I think we should acknowledge that a lot has been done by the National Treasury and SARS to address the issues that have been raised by widows for quite some time. Because if we don't make that acknowledgement, it will be like nothing has been done completely. And it will demoralize officials who worked very, very hard, who even went all out to meet the widows, not in Pretoria or here in Cape Town, but in their respective provinces. So I'm saying, I'm not imposing, I'm making my view that let's get a very, very comprehensive report. Yanga, I know she has met the widows, I think even Thomasek and others. They write to us a report and say, since this matter has been raised by the widows, this is what we have done up to so far, so that we have an appreciation of what government has done and be able to move forward. I know that NCOP, our colleagues are still going to meet the widow's voice, which we have committed ourselves to. Be that as it may, let's also get a comprehensive report in this regard, simultaneously as we are engaging the widow's voice and other with those associations in different provinces. Comrade Eunice, over to you.
No, you're absolutely right. Basically, Dennis, I haven't fully briefed you because, to be fair, he was there too. But offline, Younger and Thomas gave a very long report. The staff have tried commendably to summarize it in the first few lines. And then we say at the end, Comrade Chair, the committee recognizes that the individual tax concerns cannot become public, but recommends that National Treasury Service provide an overview report on this matter. Instead of just saying overview report, we add your words. We say provide a full report on what has been done until now and an overview report of progress at the next. We have to say overview, you can drop that word, it's a clumsy word. I couldn't think of a better word, Chairperson. Because you remember, SARS has a law that we passed that you cannot refer to the individual tax situation of a taxpayer. So they can't come here and say, Mrs. Manzi, we did this, Mrs. So-and-so, we did that, etc. They can't do that. So that's why we said overview report, but we can tweak that word with, we do say, Community Charges recognizes that individual tax concerns cannot become public, but recommends that TARS provide, and then add your words and take out the word overview and progress report on this matter at the next quarterly meeting. And you meet them every quarter, Comrade Chair. The one thing we can think about, Chairperson, is some issues affect both committees. And we do meet with SARS very rarely on our own because, tax is a national thing mainly. What we can do is sometimes the committee secretaries can confer and we can come together because this report is a joint report. And sometimes it's important for us to get a feedback as well. But you're right, I think we should do both, what you're saying and what's there.
Okay, thanks, Comrade Eunice. We have come to the end of the report. Now we are going to break. Before, Honorable Abraham, before we break into two separate committees, I see you are raising your hand.
Yes, Chair. No, it does not necessarily have a lot to do with our recommendation, but it does have a lot to do with how we treat the matter going forward. I hear you, Chair, talking about how officials have gone to the different provinces. And I think in that regard, that information should also be made available or accessible so that when we make a submission as this committee, we do not want to make a submission of a structure that is only in KZN to a point of submitting lists only from KZN. I don't know where the issue of us going as these joint committees or different committees to meet with these widows structures in the various provinces, so that my view really is that our finding, our recommendation should be the one that encapsulates all the provinces. That is my point, that when we make a recommendation, we make a recommendation that will ensure that a widow watching the recommendations from Limpopo and Mpumalanga, for example, does not feel that they have been left out, but that their sentiments be captured as well. That's just a comment I wanted to make regarding what we are doing going forward on the matter of the widows.
Chairperson, if I can just provide information.
Okay, Comrade Eunice?
Yeah, no, she's right. In fact, they told us, Comrade Noxie, we asked them, where are you based? They said all 9 provinces. They said 200 in their committee. Comrade Noxie, you might recall that this issue came up some years ago, and the women that were sitting outside are from the same organization, outside Parliament, from the Eastern Cape. And the meeting in Bishu that was held was obviously, as you'll see, they met with them in Cape Town, Pretoria, and Bishu between 2018 and 2019, right? So yes, you're right. It's all the members. If Dennis will recall, we told them they have to make that available. What we can do, if you like, is add a sentence to make it clearer and say something about to respond to concerns to people across the provinces so affected from this organization. But she's raising a more fundamental issue, Chairperson, which is why one has to be very, very cautious. We've come to where we have. But you see, there are several hundreds of thousands of people, not just women, but men. The example that I had in KZN involved males whose wives or spouses were in the public service, right? And they complained about paying this tax. So, you know, that's why we chose the words carefully. And we don't normally, Chairperson, as you know, do this. But because of the emotional and outpouring and our moral sensibilities, we agreed to this. So Noxie is right. You see, she's absolutely right. It's something I was thinking about, by the way, Comrade Noxie, from day one, when the day we met them. Is this actually involves large numbers of people. And you see, we did communicate, and you can ask Dennis, right, that if we do it for you, there are people who are poorer than you, who are also having to pay this, and they are the super rich. And the super rich will go to court and say, why are you meeting with them, and so on. So that is why we will be careful in what, you know, how we couch things. She's absolutely right. But I think we should mention that members across the provinces, if that's what we want. But it is actually, they claim to have a national structure. And it's certainly true that they were met in Bishu, as Treasury confirmed.
Okay. No, we'll try to extend the net to meet as many widows' voices as possible throughout the country, to make sure that whatever report we compile speaks to all the affected people throughout. Dr. George, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. On this matter, I do think that what happened to the widows at Parliament was completely unacceptable. It was very concerning that they had travelled to Parliament and that they were met with nobody because Parliament has burned down, etc. I don't know what the communication was, but it was not acceptable. And I think that they deserve an apology for that. Thank you.
Chairperson, may I come in here?
Oh, Honorable Karim.
This is not fair, really. I think Dennis should speak to Dion George. With his voice are not here, but it's not true that they didn't understand that it was a physical meeting. You see, we should separate the issue, as I said last week, in reporting back. I don't think Mr. George was here on Friday morning, or maybe he was, but didn't understand me. You see, the issue about whether we should have physical meetings or not is to be decided by the powers that be in both parliaments, both houses. And the DA may be right, public hearing should be fully physical, or maybe a chairperson as you and I would argue, there are many people who can't get here, okay? And so we should combine it for those who can come here, they must come here. But on the committee section side, they were informed that it is a virtual meeting, firstly. Secondly, I have to be factual now. I'm sorry to come to this, and I won't say certain things, but I would happily speak to Dion offline. It's not fair because Widow's Voice is not here to reply. But they were here from the Saturday before the Wednesday of the public hearing. From what I can gather, and I don't think we should draw the committee secretary into this, but they made their submission on a Monday from Cape Town. Thirdly, they flew back on the Thursday afternoon. Fourthly, as it turned out, instead of getting 10 minutes, they had 1 hour, 17 minutes with a combination of isiZulu, but often we didn't need it because the 6 people concerned, well, they understood English perfectly well. Some of them were teachers and people of the lower middle classes. Finally, to say that I don't think we should conflate this issue with the issue of the committees deciding that maybe in future, public hearings at least, we combine physical and virtual. John, maybe I'll be right. I don't know. I don't make the decisions myself, nor do you, Chairperson. And that can be raised with the powers that be. And where we can, as a committee, make decisions, we should. But I can't think, Chairperson. We did say to them, we are sorry, but it was more an emotional and moral identification. But I think we should be careful also, Chairperson, of casting aspersions on our excellent staff. And I can certainly speak for the secretaries that I know well, and I can certainly speak for the secretary on the NCOP side. He's excellent. He's very dedicated, Chairperson, and he did the right thing. And I'm utterly clear that he has never once lied to me, and there's no reason to do so. And there are certain things, exchanges I had with them, that makes me convinced that what he is saying is very probably correct. But if it's the view of the majority, we should apologize for something the committee secretary didn't do that's wrong, then I'm overruled. But it's unfair, Comrade Chair. That person he will be accountable by the 3 secretaries. From what I can see, they did nothing wrong. And I can speak to Mr. George offline. I don't want to say other things, Chairperson. I don't think it's right, but nothing wrong happened here.
That meeting was intended to be virtual. I don't know if there was any invitation that was sent to them that the meeting was going to be physical. I don't know if there is any such communication. Honorable Ryder.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, yes, look, I do think that there was a regrettable misunderstanding, and I do not believe that it was the fault of our committee secretariat. I think they did everything that that they should have, and it was quite clear. I think that the issue and the misunderstanding and what Dr. George is looking for is just a clarification. You know, we're dealing for the first time with a post-COVID reality where we're having hybrid sittings. We're able to have hybrid sittings where you have some in person and some virtually. And I do think that the technology is something that this committee really needs to embrace, because it makes it so much easier for so many participants to give their inputs to our committees and to our reports through the public participation processes, without incurring the expense of trips to Cape Town, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that we must embrace the technology, but we must also understand, Chairperson, that there are people that do want to come here in person. And the point that I made, certainly in our meeting with the widows, is that this is new territory for everyone that we are busy navigating. With a hybrid, the ability to sit in a hybrid type of environment, and we can have people in person, and we can have people presenting to us on Zoom, and I think we should really embrace that. But certainly, on behalf of the widows, Chair, I think they travelled down here, and it's made quite clear in 8.5.7 that these widows have had numerous interactions with government and representatives from Parliament at various levels over the years, and yet they are still feeling like they haven't had adequate response. And I think that this was part of what we wanted to get, and what they wanted to get is just to get a final kind of answer or a proper assertion that they have been heard, because there's a feeling that amongst them that they keep asking and they're not getting a final response. So you know, the fact is, and I mean, traditionally in all cultures, I believe, you know, if you're not getting the response that you want over the telephone, you get in your car and you drive to the place and you go and get the response in person. And this is effectively doing the same as that. It's a case of people coming to Parliament because it's their Parliament. And so whilst I don't think our Secretariat was incorrect, whilst I do think that there was a misunderstanding, perhaps even a willful misunderstanding on behalf of the widows, I do think that their rights to come and give account before the committee should be protected. And I believe that in future we need to accommodate people that want to come in person, and we want to accommodate people that want to present to us via Zoom, and let's broaden this as much as we can. So I do think that we probably need to amend our processes going forward. And I think it would be fair to send an apology to the widows and just say to them, you know, we're sorry that you know, I don't know if they had to stay an extra day. I presume they did, because we could only meet with them the following day. And yeah, I think Mr. Karim should be commended for facilitating that second meeting. And we did. We gave them a good year. We gave them a fair chance. And I think that was, again, fairly agile. So well done. But frustrated because they've been to Parliament on numerous occasions. I've spoken to many people. They're still not satisfied with the answer they gave. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. So let's get a report from Treasurer and SARS that will comprehensively detail how government has been engaging with the widows, because it should not be like there has never been an engagement and there has never been a concession on the side of government to try to address some of the issues that the widows have been raising. I know a lot have been done by government to deal with some of the issues that they are raising. So let's also get the full story from the side of government so that we appreciate what has been done and we're able to take the matter forward in that manner. I don't think staff should write a letter to apologize because they haven't done anything wrong. Let's not be too harsh on our support staff, even if they haven't committed any error or mistake. The meeting was clear that it was going to be virtual. They came here on Saturday when the meeting was supposed to be on Tuesday and left even some days after. We don't want to say many other things, honorable members. We will communicate with the widows that the NCOP is going to meet them and other associations which are there throughout the country. So we'll get the report, we'll keep on communicating with them. Before we go separate ways, Honorable Mrolong and Honorable Dipuo Peters, before you join, because I see you have just joined us now, we congratulate you on your appointment as members of the executive by the president. We know that this is the last meeting for you to attend, because once you are sworn in as members of executive, you will no longer come here as members of this committee. So you will be on the other side of the table, coming to account as members of the executive. Congratulations, and we wish you all the best in your new responsibilities. Thanks very much.
Yeah, they will account to us. They will come and account to us.
And explain
Yeah,
why.
but Chairperson, sorry.
Comrade
Yeah,
Eunice?
Chairperson, yeah, I share your sentiments, but we have to be frank. They've come to spy on us and report to the president. So we should be careful.
They're already on the other side.
To come and explain why is the bill not coming in March when there was a commitment.
Yeah.
No, we wish them all the best. Now let's go separate ways as the two committees. We start with the lower house, which is The lower house is the National Assembly. The other one is the upper house. The House of Lords will come after us.
I hope you're listening, Noxe.
What are you saying, Comrade Karim?
Now, Noxe has to show us some respect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she calls me all the time. She says the old man. So I think I should call her the toddler. The toddler. That's what I'll be calling her. When I say comrade toddler, comrade chair, you know what I'm referring to.
It's a house of the elderly.
Yeah. Can we in the lower house meet now and process the report? There we are. Honorable members of SCOF, welcome again. Here is the report that we have been processing.
Just a quick.
Comrade Eunice? Oh, okay. I thought you wanted to say something. Okay, honorable members, here we are. We have been processing the report, the fiscal framework report that have to go to Parliament, National Assembly tomorrow for debate and adoption. Can a member of the committee move for the adoption of the report?
I move, Chair, for the adoption of the report. Is Kosana.
Yeah, Kosana moves for the.
Second.
Oh, Murolong, you are seconding.
Yeah, you were second for the last time. Yeah, you were second.
I'm exercising my final right here to second. I'm second.
Hey. Yeah, Murolong, for the last time. He wants to leave the mark here, or he was responsible in this committee. Ramurolong, for seconding the report, the adoption. I see there's the head of Dr. George.
Please reserve the position of the DA chair.
No, okay, Secretariat, let's record the position of the DA. Various akhbare vessels. Oh, I see. Mletsana good when out in the upper house. Or we are no, let me not confuse things. Honorable Mletsan.
Yes, Chair, I understand that because my deputy president is not present on his behalf in that committee. The EFF reserves its position, if it's allowed.
It's not allowed.
Okay.
Now we are separate as the two houses. It's not allowed. He should have sent an alternative to or whosoever to represent him. So we don't want to cause problems and somebody legally challenges the report. If you have identified that earlier on, you should have just alerted him. We'll record that Honorable Shwambu was not here. But he has got a right tomorrow, remember, to speak in the House. So there's nothing that stops him to raise the view of the EFF tomorrow in the House. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, well, welcome, Letson. We have the report has been adopted. Thanks very much. Let us hand over to the upper house of the Lords. Over to you, Comrade Eunice Karim.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. If you'll only respected us, apart from using the word upper house, we'd be very grateful. Okay. This is me wanting to be a Lord, my God. All right. Okay. So I've just checked with over the phone with Nkululeko, and he says we do have a quorum. In that case, can we have a mover for the report, please?
Thank you, Chairperson. Jadu, I was in the meeting of full deliberations. I propose adoption of the report, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Seconder, please.
Honorable Chairperson, I second. Mama Rehani.
Thank you very much. Okay. I suppose you want to say something, Dennis?
Thank you very much, Chair. If you can please note the reservation the severe extreme reservations of the Democratic Alliance on this report. Thank you.
You're out of touch with your constituency, big business, right? Because they are very sympathetic to this budget. But fine, they won't fund you, I suppose. I'll notify them. Now, Simon Moletsane, your deputy president just phoned me and said he would like to vote in the So I told him, well, you'll have to take a slice of the man's salary, Simon Moletsane. He said, yeah, he'll sort you out. So he has already expressed what you want to say, but I'll allow you to repeat what he told me over the phone.
Thank you, Chairperson. The EFF reserves its position.
Wow. Okay. Are you also indecisive? Eh? I mean, what is it about you guys? Okay. Next point is funny.
Sir, I'm covered.
person,
Thank
sorry.
you. We can proceed to close the meeting.
Okay. Thank you. You're very kind. You're so generous. Thank you all. Bye.
Recording stopped.